For the last week, I've had to stay off my feet pretty much. And that gave me plenty of time to read this book, Blood and Winter, by Jonathan Healy. And it's about the events of the winter of 1641 to 1642, all of which, that was the period that led up to the outbreak of the English Civil War. And it reminded me of two books that I've read within the last year. One was The Demon of Unrest by Eric Larson, and also Jay Winnick's book, 1861. All about, and those books were about the lead up to the American Civil War. Now, this one I thought was pretty interesting. First off, there were two things that kind of triggered it. On the level of the politicians, the people who were running the country, the king, parliament, the whole dispute had to do with who had the power to govern, to actually rule. Parliament felt that it came from the people, and therefore that power resided in Parliament. King Charles felt, the divine right of kings. He had the power, and it came from God. Now, on the level of ordinary people, particularly the people of London, they got all bent out of shape on religious questions, which to me was kind of odd how that came in, but they really got worked up over it. And the question was, what's going to happen? Will papists take over the country and somehow or other take over religion? People got excited about that kind of stuff. Now, the characters in the book, the leading characters, you had a handful of people in Parliament who were really leading the charge, so to speak, on the fact that Parliament had the right to govern, the right to rule. And of course, on the other side, the royalist side, you had King Charles I, who, in my opinion, came off as not a buffoon, but really pretty close to it. His wife, Henrietta Marie, who was from France, and she was really stirring up trouble. There were two guys who appear from time to time in this book that I found particularly interesting. One of them was a guy named John Banks, and the other was a guy named Edward Nicholas. Both of them were lawyers. Both of them certainly were involved with politics, and they were, I guess you'd call them sort of senior level bureaucrats. They tended to be advising Charles I, and I had the impression they were looking for ways to bridge the gap between Parliament on the one hand and Charles I on the other. Because of Charles I's stubbornness, I guess you'd call it, bad judgment, the prodding of Henrietta Maria, his queen, it all came to naught, and they ended up with a civil war that lasted until, 1646. Now, because of the important role that ordinary people played in this, particularly the people in London, Jonathan Healy gives great portraits of what was going on the streets of London, what they looked like, what they smelled like, what these people were doing. Very interesting, very clearly written, not just clearly written, but he maintains a kind of a pace or a drumbeat, so to speak, where you're driving right towards this outbreak of a civil war in London. And I know some people can read the book and see parallels in current politics. I don't see that, because these societies are so different from what we have now in the United States and in England, but some people will do that. To me, very powerful book, very interesting, and I can heartily recommend it. Once again, it's Blood and Winter, Jonathan Healy, and it's all about like an 8 or 9 month period, well, almost a year, I guess, between 1641 and 1642 until actual civil war broke out in England. Very happy to recommend this book. It's really, really well done.